Hello, my name is Urmet, and I want to talk about the Estonian complex clause. And I thought um, it would be kind of interesting to go through it by using each of these clauses as a template for translation. So we have this sample sentence here. Paul was walking along the path, whistling a cheerful tune. And I want to translate this into Estonian. Now, it's very simple to translate it straight away, and I know translators don't really do this exercise when they're doing their job. However, I thought this sort of would work as an introduction to the Estonian complex clause. Now, you don't really need to know much about Estonian to follow along, so don't worry about that. But I'll try to be useful for both language learners and people who are interested in the in looking at the Estonian clause system in a more systematic way. But also, I think like this system is quite similar to other languages systems. Like English clause system is different, but it has similarities. So it will be a nice exercise for everyone, I hope. And the main source for this system I'm going to be exploring is Eesti Grammatika or Estonian Grammar, released in 2023, quite recently. And the section on complex clauses has been written by Mati Eralt, who unfortunately passed away recently. But yeah, he has done a lot of work on this complex clause question in Estonian. And also, I need to mention that it's not only his work, but all the collective work of Estonian linguists. But let's get through it. How do we start translating a sentence in this sort of backwards way? First, I'm thinking, let's translate each of these clauses. So we have two clauses here. Paul was walking along the path and whistling a cheerful tune, which are connected. And let's translate each of them separately. We have Paul was walking along the path. Paul kõndis mööda rada. So was walking translates to kõndis. Along the path translates to mööda rada. Along is mööda and the path is rada. And there's no progressive in Estonian, that's why we don't use like a separate form for the was walking meaning. And the other half have expanded the clause to include the subject. Paul was whistling a cheerful tune. Paul vilistas lõbusat viisjuppi, and really this is the same process. He was whistling, vilistas, cheerful tune, lõbusat viisjuppi, cheerful lõbusat, tune viisjuppi. Now, how do we go about like combining these clauses? So we have these two clauses. We could use them as separate sentences, but we want one sentence. There are two ways to join clauses. One of them is subordination, where one clause is subordinated by the other. So the higher clause is called the main clause, and the lower clause is called the subordinated clause, or there are other names for that. But this is subordination. and there's coordination. So coordination keeps both of the clauses on the same level syntactically, and they are both main clauses, and they're joined by some sort of coordinating conjunction. So let's try this first, because it's much simpler. In Estonian, there are really 3 types of coordination: additive, separative, and contrasting. And they convey different meanings. They can have this base meaning, unmarked meaning, or a marked meaning, but they have different domains that they govern. So this additive can be a plain meaning, this and construction or a ja construction, or it can be a marked meaning. It could mark a result, conclusion, or explanation. Mistõttu seega nimelt, mistõttu is like because of which, seega is therefore, and nimelt would be, I don't even know a translation for this, but that's not important. We're not using these today, we're just using the plain one. Pool kõndis mööda rada ja Pool vilistas lõbusalt 5 juppi. So this really is very straightforward. We just add them together, and in coordinating clauses, a repeating subject is usually not used. You could use this pronoun, but it's not really necessary. Pool kõndis mööda rada ja vilistas lõbusat 5 juppi. And really already works very well as a translation. In the English back translation we have here, we can see that it works the same as the English and clause. Paul was walking along the path and whistling a cheerful tune. We can also omit the subject here, and even the was. So it will look a lot like the ing clause we had at the beginning, where we just didn't use the and, we used the comma. But we can also use the pronoun if we want. Now, this is one option here. The other option we have for coordination is the separative one. It can also have this plain meaning or a marked meaning, and the marked meaning in the separative corner is a contrasting conclusion, and this uses the word muidu, which means or else. So this happens or else this happens. But let's look at the unmarked one, which is või. This means or. I should have put like translations here. Paul kõndis mööda rada või Paul vilistas lõbusat 5 juppi. Now, because it's separative, it sort of doesn't make sense to like in this context, it doesn't make sense. So I actually changed the meaning of the sentence a bit, so we can have an example that actually works. So I made a question out of this. Kas Paul kõndis mööda rada või vilistas lõbusat 5 juppi? This is basically the either or question, either this or that, and also this also doesn't repeat the subject, although you could put it here. There's some word order things going on here. Not gonna go into the word order. And English is very similar. Was Paul walking along the path or whistling a cheerful tune? or was he whistling a cheerful tune? And really the only difference here is the either or question, which is replaced by this inversion. And the final coordinating clause we can use is the contrasting one, which uses the conjunction aga or but. Paul kõndis mööda rada, aga Paul vilistas lõbusat viisjuppi. Now, these two don't have any contrasts in them, these two clauses, which is why this doesn't work. But we do have marked meanings here. Actually, yeah, we do have marked options here. We have a concession of which is marked with quid. It can also be marked with aga if it has other markers. And correction, not this but that, mitte see vaid too. So let's use concession here. So this for concession, we kind of need this contrast to be constructed into the clauses. So I added, you can see, a tough path, but he was still whistling a cheerful tune. So Paul kõndis mööda rasket rada, aga vilistas ikka lõbusat viisjuppi. Paul was walking along a tough path, but he was still whistling a cheerful tune. So, yeah, so for contrast, we really do need some sort of contrast between the two clauses. But if we do have the contrast, this is a good option for translation, because it really has like an impact. But that's it for coordination. We have three types. I don't know what's going on here. We have three types: additive, contrasting, and separative. And they can have these plain versions, or they can have marked meanings. Now let's move on to the subordination, which is a bit more complicated, but I won't go over all the types in quite as much detail. I just want to present all of the options there are, and just know that there are like specific things about each of these that might come up if you're analyzing a sentence. But basically, for subordination, we have two options actually. So with coordination, we only had full clauses. However, for subordinations, full finite clauses. I'm just using full clause because I like it better, but finite clause is also fine. Anyway, for subordination, because they are subordinated, they don't need to express this full meaning in them. They're not main clauses. So we can use a shortcut, and clause-like constructions are sort of like shortcuts. They don't have all the information needed to form a main clause. Mainly it's expressed through either the verb does have this person marking or not. So these clause-like constructions don't have person marking. This is the main separator here. Now let's go to the full clause first. There are three types: complement clause, relative clause, and adverbial clause. The complement clause is basically a stand-in for an object. Now here, with these two clauses, we don't really have any way to connect them through this object relation. So I constructed a new clause Paul told me, Paul ütles mulle, et Paul kõndis mööda rada. So Paul ütles mulle, et ta kõndis mööda rada. Paul told me that he was walking along the path. So if the verb of the sentence has a pattern that accepts a clause as an object, this can work. A complement clause can work in a translation. But we're not dealing with this case, so we sort of have to dismiss this type of clause. But this is a major type of clause anyway. So it's an important clause, but not for this translation. Now we have the relative clause, and this actually kind of works. This relative clause is tied to a specific noun in the sentence. It's not related to the whole clause, but like a specific noun phrase. And we have a perfect noun phrase here. We have the name Paul, which can be considered a noun phrase. And we can join these two clauses by putting it into a relative clause besides Paul. And this is how it looks like. Paul, kes kõndis mööda rada, vilistas lõbusat viisi õppi. And this really works the same as in English. Paul, who was walking along the path, was whistling a cheerful tune. So I actually quite like this sentence, especially in English. So I would accept this as a translation. It is much more wordy, but it sort of subjugates some of the information that is less relevant maybe for the situation. So depending on the surrounding sentences, this might actually be a good option. And I've seen these ing clauses be translated as relative clauses especially when the subject isn't the subject anymore. This is a way of like changing the structure of the sentence without losing any meaning. But yeah, let's move on. For the third type of full clause or finite clause, we have the adverbial clause. Now, adverbial clauses, they can be very similar to complement clauses in that they complete the verb meaning, but I don't have really thought it through enough to explain it to you. So I'll just present them as like this third option, but you should know that there are actually like two uses for them. This separate clause use that's more separate, and this complementary use for adverbial clauses. But adverbial clauses are basically separated by what they mean to the main clause. So if the subordinated clause marks some type of time the main action took place, it's a time clause. If it marks a reason it took place, it's a reason clause. There's a concession clause, and there are a total of 9 main types of clauses, and they have like subtypes. So it's really quite diverse. So you can use an adverbial clause quite often. But this time clause is quite common for fiction translation especially. And we can see this here. So let's go through it. we have this connective, actually add the translation. We have this two-part connection of samal ajal kui. Samal ajal is called a correlate, which syntactically it's in the main clause, but it's related to this subordinate clause, and the subjunctive kui is attached to this correlate. And now, not all of adverbial clauses have correlates, but this can happen, and it sort of allows it to sort of move or specify the specific meaning of the clause. So we have samal ajal kui, but we could have like enne kui as well as a time clause. So at the same time that, but we could have before that or after that as well. So this correlate really helps with specifying the meaning. But yeah, let's look at the full clause. I'm really having trouble explaining this one. Samal ajal kui Paul mööda rada kõndis, vilistas ta lõbusat viisijuppi. So here we have this correlate. If we cover up the subordinate clause here, samal ajal vilistas ta lõbusat viisijuppi, we could have this samal ajal refer to another sentence, for example. Like if the previous sentence says Paul kõndis mööda rada, samal ajal vilistas ta lõbusat viisijuppi, that would work as well. We have something interesting going on with the word order as well. We have this verb at the end. Many subordinate clauses actually have the verb at the end, and even relative clauses and complement clauses. So don't be alarmed by this. It's very normal. But it can also be in the second position as with main clauses. And we also have this pronoun being after the verb. This is also this normal verb second rule application. And this basically means at the same time that Paul was walking along the path, he was whistling a cheerful tune. Now, this sort of sentence sort of emphasizes the time. So it would work if the question that the sentence sort of answered was what time it was at, or what happened at this time. However, I don't think it works here because this walking is so simple and this unspecified time, so I don't think it works at all as a translation for the original sentence at least, but it sort of has the meaning there. However, there are some ing clauses that this really works better with. So at the same time that Paul was at the university, he was working as a chef, and let's take away the same. So at the time that Paul was at the university, he was working was studying at the university. He was working as a chef. So this is a more of a thing that could translate into this samal ajal kui construction. or and this could be constructed like this. While studying at the university, Paul was working as a chef. So this we still have this sort of an ing clause with the while marker there. So which would work better with these types of clauses. But for this sentence, this doesn't really work. But yeah, this is the adverbial clause. Remember, we have the time clause, reason clause, concession clause, and other meanings covered here, and they use different types of subjunctions. Now, these are the 3 full clauses covered. Finally, we have the clause-like construction, or the secondary construction of Estonian sekundaartarind. This include nominalization, absolute constructions, and different types of non-finite clauses. Let's start with nominalization. Now, nominalization is what it sounds like. It's a verb turned into a noun in its basic terms, but what we're dealing with here is a full clause. So a nominalization of a clause would be a clause turned into a noun phrase. And here we can turn the first clause into a noun phrase. For example, Paul kõndis mööda rada. Pauli rada mööda kõndimine. So this mine ending marks the nominalization in Estonian. In English, you would still use the ing ending. It has a different origin, but the same form. And you basically guess the type of word it is based on the context. But yeah, in Estonian we have mine, the mine ending, and we can still have the subject here. It could have an object. It can have adverbials like rada mööda here. However, this is quite clunky, so I don't recommend using it too much. But it is a valid way to use, valid form to use in Estonian. Now let's see how it works in the translation. Rada mööda kõndimise ajal vilistas Paul lõbusat viisijuppi. It doesn't work. I just said, like, kõndimise ajal, maybe take out the rada mööda. It works with like a shorter meaning, shorter phrases. It could work with other meanings, maybe using the other clause as a noun phrase, but it doesn't work here. But basically nominalization does exist, and it can sort of be considered a clause, at least in its internal meaning, but outside it acts like a noun phrase. And the English variant here, during Paul's walking along the path, he was whistling a cheerful tune. That also sounds quite clunky. So that's nominalization. I have to say, like, this really doesn't do justice to what nominalization can do. However, again, for this sentence, it's not a great option. Now, let's move on to the absolute construction. This is basically a different type of subordinate clause-like construction, because it refers to some part of the subject. So we need to change the original clause into something that refers to its part. In Estonian we have the possessive clause, which would in English would be the I have clause, but in Estonian it uses like this pooli-loli construction, which is where the subject is no longer the subject, but something else is. So yeah, this is the baseline of the absolute construction, but the meaning can sort of drift away from this have construction. Pooli, lolli, lubus, visiub, hull. And this isn't an absolute construction. It's an absolute construction when it's inserted into another clause. And here we see an option here. Paul kõndis mööda rada, lõbus visiub huulil. So we have omitted the pooli-lolli here and just saying lõbus visiub huulil. And English has a very similar construction. Paul was walking along the path, a cheerful tune on his lips. So I think it works well. We have changed, we have eliminated the whistling part here. However, I think it works well. It has some stylistic markings, but yeah, I think it's a fine translation. Now, let's move on to the final type of clause or a clause-like construction, the non-finite clause. There are three types of non-finite clauses. I only want to cover the converb, but briefly, let's go over the infinitive clause. It sort of works like a complement clause. It's integrated into the meaning construction of the main clause. So we can't use it here for the same reason as we can't use a complement clause. Now we have the participial clause or the participle. This works as an adjective in the main clause, or an adjective for a noun phrase rather. And this would work here, but I won't go into it. It's very simple. And then we have the converb, and the main form of the converb is this. There are other forms that mark some that could mark the past or the negative version of it, but this form is the main one, and we can use it just like the ing clause. Just add this form, take away the subject, and it's done. Paul kõndis mööda rada, vilistades lõbusat viisijuppi. And this looks exactly the same as the ing clause here. Paul was walking along the path, whistling a cheerful tune. So this ing ending and the this ending are doing the same thing here. They are shortening the clause. They allow you to eliminate the repeating subject, and they don't have any additional information here. Now, these two types of clauses are very similar. However, the ing clause could have a preposition or something like a preposition, like a subjunction, and also it could have a subject like this. it's a bit of a different type of clause here, with his lips whistling a cheerful tune. It's more like an absolute clause. But the main point here is that the ing clause is a bit more malleable than the des clause. However, they are mostly very similar, and mostly the des clause is a good version of it. Now, there is another version of the des clause, and I want to finish on this because I think this is neglected in translation. And the other version is basically an inversion of the des clause in the that's similar to the ing clause. If the des clause is at the end of if the des verb is at the end of the clause, it sort of doesn't have this individual clause meaning anymore, but it has like this more integrated meaning. It's more like a phrase, and it can go in between the other parts of the sentence. So here we see that the des clause here is sort of integrated into the main clause, and this really is something that I don't see in translation, but which is very common in Estonian. And sometimes you see people say that this des clause is more of a written Estonian feature, and this inserted version is more of a spoken Estonian version. And this because this was introduced later as specifically for the written version of Estonian. Now, there's a lot to say about this. There's a deep dive into this in the scientific literature by Karl-Erik Simmul, who investigates the information structure of Estonian sentences, where he basically separates these two types of clauses. Now, this is somewhere that the Estonian description could move into, like separating these two, but right now they're both considered the same clause, and they really don't have a different meaning in their contents. They just have a different impact in the in how they're presented. But yeah, this is the my favorite translation of them all. However, there are options, right? In the Estonian clause system, we could have this converb. We could have fun with it. We could make an absolute construction. We could take some information away with nominalization. We could emphasize the time with an adverbial clause, the time aspect of it, or some other aspect of it. We could subordinate one clause to the other more closely by the noun phrase with the relative clause. We could form other meanings, add some contrasting meanings with concession, if we want to add some flavor. Now that's not translation but transformation, but still. We could ask some questions with the separative clause, or just express some uncertainty, for example. Or we could just join them with the additive coordinated clause, the and clause or the a clause, however you want to tell it. But yeah, that's it. Again, this source, Eesti Grammatica, is very good, but it's only in Estonian, so yeah, if you don't know Estonian, you can't really use it. And it has a lot of information. It goes from like pronunciation to word formation to syntax to the spoken language as well. So it's very it has a very wide scope, and I hope I did some justice to the system that Mati Järelt presents in that book. Thank you for watching, and I'll be happy to see any comments you have.